everyone! It is Friday, it is an afternoon, and we are here to play some fun Cypher system stuff and shenanigans. So let's just go around before we get started playing the game, and let's introduce everybody and who will be playing. But before we do that, I would like to thank our sponsors, Roll20, our virtual tabletop of choice. They're super awesome. I've been using them for years. They've kept me sane in the midst of plague and loneliness. So check them out. They've got good character sheets for things, and it's free. So just do it. Check it out. It's awesome. So speaking of awesome, we've got Trooper. I'd look at the overlay. Trooper, how are you?
You know, I'm great. First off, I'm so happy to be back in the world of Aether's Walkway. It is a great world. It's an amazing world. It's an amazing gym. It's an amazing cast. I've missed all these peeps. It's so great. The reason why, and look, I'm going to tell you why we have not run the game for the last couple of weeks is because I was moving. And if I'm moving and I can't be there, then what's the point? So I appreciate that everybody just paused while I was moving. Thank you very much. And I'm so excited to be back. The last time I was here, my character got slapped by Lindy's character kind of hard, so hard that he got kidnapped. And I'm excited to find, she slapped me out of this reality, and I'm excited to find out what happens next. So that's me. I'm TuberSJP. You can find me on my channel or also here. That's it.
Someone I hope doesn't get slapped out of reality would be Erica. Erica, how are you?
Hi, I am pretty good. I am tired, but it's good tired because I've been busy with Girl Scouts Glory. We are back, and I'm very excited about that. Every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. And I don't know. I don't know. I'm happy we're back.
Wonderful, wonderful. Someone who's happy we're back, I'm sure, is Greg. Okay. I'll just do myself. Hi, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Lindy. You're on my channel. I will be playing Zarina Nyx. She is half machine at this point, and just had a very emotional time last episode. And yeah, it's gonna be a time to have her figure shit out because she's not happy with certain people, and she just wants to know what the fuck is going on. Speaking of what the fuck's going on, do we have Greg back yet? No.
Lindy, who are those people that you're mad at? Is it the bad guys?
She's a little mad at them. Yeah. Cool. I think she's most mad at what she assumed was her dead boyfriend. Who's probably not dead. And I just...
Well, I was gonna say, I'm here. What I'm most mad at is my stream deck, which is not working. So that's okay though. I'm Greg. I'm not on social media, but I'm playing Cantor, and I can't wait to play. All that for that.
And someone who's all that is Alice, our game master. Alice, how are you doing?
Oh, hi. I'm so glad to be back with this game. We're almost all here. Lily sadly is not. However, Lily is back next week, so I'm super excited for that. And it's been too long since I've played with all of these lovely faces. So, do we want to dive straight in?
Yeah.
I feel like we should.
Okay.
So, as we do, Zarina, you're stood in that not small bathroom, but fairly regular-sized bathroom in Cantor's home. And the last image of Livewire sort of fades, and you can hear that clatter of the engagement ring as it falls through his hand and onto that tiled floor as you watch it roll down sort of across by to where the sink is and sort of lands in place. And he's gone. And you're stood in that bathroom. You can... I want to say you can hear things going on in the other room, but Hybria and Cantor went silent, and Loxy was doing her own thing. I think Loxy was making coffee. And you stand there in this moment of sort of emotion And Livewire has just disappeared. Again.
I think because she was sitting in the bathtub crying with a bottle of vodka. I think she looks at the bottle, looks at where he's standing, or where he was standing, looks back. It's like, no, that couldn't. And then just goes over and picks up the ring. Flings open the bathroom door and just looks around.
And what does Zarina see? What is Loxy doing in the apartment at the moment?
Yeah, Loxy's probably standing like in the kitchen, preparing like a cup of coffee. You just see like the top of her head over the counter. I assume it's like it probably has like a horseshoe shaped kitchen where it has like the little bar with the stools. I'm guessing, I don't know, this is what I'm picturing. And she's just like bobbing around the kitchen with a cup of coffee and maybe a pot, and has set out some extra mugs.
And Cantor, where you were, you notice Ibria sit very quietly next to you, but are you moving at all? Or because you both had that conversation where you just sort of continue to look out the window, and she's very fixated looking out the window.
Cantor being Cantor, at some point he would just kind of maybe get up and wander around just to see what's going on and if everyone's okay. Not necessarily acting like the host, but acting like, oh, what's going on in this room? Which could be, what is this room? As far as Cantor's, we're not sure exactly what he's thinking or remembering at this point.
Okay.
So he'd be just wandering.
Zarina, you enter this room.
And I don't see Livewire, thinking maybe he just did some weird projection thing because he didn't want to get slapped again. She wasn't sure. She goes, Did anyone see Livewire?
Wasn't he in the bathroom with you?
He dissolved?
Like, melted?
Like he was there, and then he wasn't there? I thought it was the vodka, but it's not. He dropped what he was holding, and he's just gone. He's gone again.
Good.
Oh, I was gonna say Loxy's head is gonna like bop around and come around the other side of the kitchen bar, and she's gonna sort of speed walk over to the bathroom to look around.
Okay. If you're gonna have a look around, could you roll me an intellect check of what are you specifically looking for?
Anything related to Livewire? Just
Okay.
like anything that could have like anything that might look weird or out of place, I guess.
Okay, could you roll me an intellect check of 4? Could you roll me an intellect check of 3, and you can use your machine interface on this?
Ooh. Yeah. So what does that do?
It just uses, you can expend a point of intellect, and it will make it easier for you. So you'd be looking for like a 2.
Okay. Then I will take 1 point at it. Is it 1 point?
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. And that'll bring it down to 2.
Yes. Okay. Loxy, as you approach the bathroom, you can feel almost like it's like a static. As you first sort of, it's almost like with your goggles down, you can see like this like a blue statical barrier. It's not like stopping you. You can walk in and out of the doorway. You can put your hand through it. Nothing seems to happen. If anything, you get this feeling that this is almost like a residue of something, like a static as if it could be a wide number of things. Sometimes you've seen this around robots, sometimes you've seen this around teleportation. You've seen it's like a residue where something has been moved and literally taken out of the existence that you are currently in.
Okay.
Just don't know where he could have gone, how he could have gone.
There's something going on here.
Yeah, there's something big going on here, and we need to figure out what's happening.
Yeah, Loxa's gonna take off her goggles, which might be like too big on Zarina, but she's gonna like hand them to Zarina and she's like, just do you see what's going on? Do you see this as well?
You can see the statics arena, maybe not as clearly as what Loxy would see, but as you're looking at it, the longer you look at it, you see it almost like it's fading, almost like when you've blown dust off of a lamp and it's sort of slowly dispersing into the air, but you can see it almost as these like white blue particles.
Yeah, what is that?
It's like an electric. It goes with it can go with teleportation and robots. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the same thing, but there's definitely something electronic happening here.
Does this mean he teleported away, or did somebody teleport him away?
Lox's gonna take her goggles back. Let me go look around and see if I can gather anything else. So she's gonna look around the bathroom with her goggles on, seeing if there's any weird like a loose tile that could be an electronic trigger or something.
Okay. I'll get you to roll another straight up intellect check for me, please. And whilst you're doing that, Cantor, as you're there, you watch Hybria stand as she starts to walk towards the kitchen where Loxy was and opens your cupboards and starts taking out coffee mugs.
Okay. Cantor would look at Loxy and basically hearing bits of the conversation, hearing all of it, but understanding bits of the conversation between Zarina and Loxy, he would move to the spot where he thinks they're looking, and he would like take his glove off and put his hand on the floor and put his other hand up, and he would just look at Loxy and say, am I in it? And he's trying to be in the static, wherever the static would be.
Is he in it?
When you say in the static, are you trying to physically walk into it, or are you trying to become part of it?
He's just trying to be like, if it was fog, he's trying to walk into the fog. You know, so he's trying to, yeah.
If you move towards the bathroom, even if you get close to the door frame, Loxy, you will see Cantor go into this, which is in a way like a fog, but it is so thin now as you see it sort of dispersing, not throughout the apartment, it's as if it's fading away.
Yeah, and I'll tell him, you're in it, but it's getting thinner.
Okay, well then I'm going to try to scan into and try to trace after Livewire through whatever it is. I don't know if he can, but I'm attempting to use scan in this way to trail Livewire.
If you want to trail him, could you roll me an intellect check of 4, please?
Okay. Let me see. Get this right. Okay, I'm gonna spend some. I'm gonna add effort to it. No. Big
Okay,
negatory.
So, what does it look like as Cantor is really trying to reach out to this, though?
His eyes would go white like they normally do, but if he can't grab hold of anything, if he can't find what's supposed to be at the other end, then he would get lost for a second. He might grab hold of something else that was over there, somebody that's not Livewire. So, you know, it might flash back. He might tag somebody else that's in the room. He would experience either feedback or a misdirection. So it would take him a while to reboot, and he would just kind of sit there and then come out of it and not really understand.
And I will say, Loxy, as you're moving about, Zarina, did you pick up the ring that fell on the
Yes.
floor, or did you leave it? Okay.
She picked that up.
Loxy, Loxy, you look around and you can see this fade, almost like dispersing, almost completely disappearing now, like the remnants are completely gone. You can see that static almost around Cantor for a moment, almost like it's being drawn back with whatever he's reaching out with. And Cantor, you have this moment of almost like the room you look around, you see static of each individual. You see this blue static of almost like the shape of Loxy, no real details, but you can see this shape stood in the bathroom, sort of looking towards you. If you look back out through that bathroom door, you can see Zarina exactly the same. And it's like this rush that you feel. You can see almost like you're falling out of the building. You're seeing all the people in the cars as you're going down. You're seeing the people in the streets. And it's almost as you reach out and you can't track Livewire anywhere. But the one thing you can do on that roll is you know he's no longer in a radius that you can reach.
Then that's what he would say. He's gone. He's away.
Where could he have gone?
That's
Also,
a
I
great
rolled.
question.
Also, I rolled a 17 on my Indiana Jones trap check.
Yep. You didn't find any Indiana Jones traps. However, the one other thing you pick up, and it is in the residue, it's not something physical. It's a signal. A signal that was, you can assume it was either on Livewire or it was Livewire. And you can tell that it was activated and not by anyone in this building. This was not a voluntary disappear.
And I'll relay that information. Just some signal that's coming off of him that it doesn't seem to be something that any of us or he controlled.
Oh, so at least you didn't voluntarily leave this time. That's nice.
Yeah, but I don't really know where it's coming from or where it's leading to.
So I think we should all sit down since we have no idea where he is. Let's just all sit down, have some coffee, maybe some vodka coffee, and just lay everything out on the table. Just get at just everything that's happened. We just tell each other, because I have no idea what is going on except that y'all saw some murder, and then we've been running ever since. Apparently.
Yeah, let's just I guess rehash everything that we've been through in the last 2 to 3 days. I don't really know, I might be a little sleep deprived.
Okay. Alright, yep. Let's just hash it all out. Just.
Well, I was working in my shop, and this guy came in, wanted a tracker removed from his bike, so I disabled it. And then the lady in white murdered him in front of my shop as he was leaving.
He gave me the box.
The box full of your belongings?
I'd be lost without it.
Okay, so a guy being tracked got murdered after giving Cantor a box full of Cantor's things?
It seems so.
Okay.
And Livewire brought me some bugged AI that needs oh gosh, I haven't even looked at George since this whole thing began.
Is George the AI?
Yeah, George is the
Okay,
AI.
good. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anyone. Okay.
But then
We all went to the police station?
yeah, and that
Okay. The
those
watcher
two guys
station?
got hacked,
Uh-huh.
and that's where we met you.
Yes.
Uh,
I'd been attacked by theaters that morning. That's the only reason I was there. Okay.
and then that guy knocked Hybria out the window.
Oh.
Oh, were you not there for that?
No, I was falling on an elevator.
All right, yeah, you were in the. So, basically, the guy that got hacked in the lobby.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was that one.
Okay.
Cantor, do you know?
We jumped out a window.
Yeah. So,
Right.
Cantor jumped out a window and told me to run. I said no, and I jumped out of the window too.
Uh-huh.
I may have stolen a car.
Right. Okay.
No, it was a bike. It was a bike. I stole a bike. And then we went back to our shop, and this creepy guy came in with a bunch of watchers. And they knew way too much about us. And apparently they were hired by Hybria's family.
Okay.
And that's, I think, when we got the text that Livewire was getting murdered in the hospital? Unsuccessfully, but you know.
Yes. Yeah. Unsuccessfully getting murdered in the hospital. Mm-hmm.
We grabbed George. I grabbed the box that I used. They were looking for a box, right? The guys in the garage. Do you remember, Cantor?
Didn't have any mods.
Yeah, he didn't have any mods. Which was weird because they made the electricity and the whole garage go out.
Yeah, that seems to be like very similar. I didn't see any mods on the guy that did weird things in the alley that I was trying to escape from unsuccessfully.
Wait,
Cantor.
Alice.
Yeah?
Ooh, out of character. Did I know? Do I know if that was the same guy? Did I know about the guy in the alleyway, or I forget?
You arrived slightly too late, but you could probably say they're very similar.
Okay.
And
just
Cantor,
Cantor
how
knows,
much
right?
crockery? Yeah, Cantor saw him.
Yeah, so Cantor would know it's the
Or him.
same guy if he remembers.
But Cantor, how much crockery do you have?
I would say not a lot, because despite everything is as if somebody had looked at a minimalist catalog and said, give me everything in this picture of a kitchen. And so With that, you have, cabinets, all the hardware is very Spartan. Only that little corner looks like it's been lived in. So if there's some decorative, like crate and barrel pottery, perhaps, something from perhaps the Pottery Barn. I don't know.
You
The crockery barn. It's the future.
It's the crockery barn.
You just,
Yes.
just hold up the magazines and just get this.
just see like the front room and yeah.
It's the exact same thing.
Yeah,
I will say, like, you can hear clattering from the kitchen. Hybrid is emptying your cupboards and lining everything on the counter.
even Cantor would think that wasn't normal. But not enough to say anything. So he would look at Loxy and Zarina.
I don't think Zarina's noticed at all. She's just...
Loxy's gonna look and see where Cantor's looking. Just go, hey, hi Bria, what you doing over there?
She looks up at you, smile, nods, starts to unload the next cupboard. Even if there's nothing in it, she's opening all of the... leaving all of the cupboards open, just leaving them open.
Loxy's gonna flip down her goggles and try to see if, like, Hybria's been hacked? Or if her... Because she has, like, one mod, right?
She has one mod, but it's in a ring.
Oh.
So I can say you could definitely roll an intellect check because there is tech.
Yeah, I'm gonna just take a little look see. Is it just a straight up intellect?
Yeah, roll a straight up one. Okay.
A 7.
Through this, it's almost like you see the glitch through the whole kitchen. Not just on Hybria, like the whole kitchen. It's almost like that static you see, that snowstorm on a TV, and you're seeing little blips. And you can see that the ring is glowing this very, very sort of bright orange and yellow, and that to you indicates this malfunction. Almost like, but it's not coming up with any readable errors. It's not coming up with anything you would know, and it's just a simple fashion mod. You've seen these everywhere.
Hey Hybria, you wanna come out of the kitchen and join us?
She doesn't acknowledge you at all. She continues. You can hear her humming.
What's she
Sorry,
humming?
what is she humming? I just need to know. There's a little concern here.
Yeah.
That's all.
It's very, very soft, so you might have to roll an intellect check if you want to try and hear it. Loxy, so if any of you want to hear it, it will be a 3. Apart from Loxy, you are closer, it will be a 2.
This is just a straight intellect?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you all hear it. You've all heard it in the garage or in the alley. We'll meet again, and it's being hummed very quietly, very, very quietly. Not, you have to stop and listen to hear it. But you're not too sure if it's coming fully from her or if it's coming from the ring, because the static is sort of breaking the connection.
Just turn and look at Loxy, and then Cantor, and then back to Loxy.
So, I have a quick question about distant activation.
Mm-hmm.
It says it can't be connected to another intelligence or be intelligent itself. Could
Mhm.
I try to use that on the ring?
Try disable it if you want.
I would love to try and disable it.
Roll for me, please.
Can I use one of my 2 crits?
Yes. What does it look like as you are trying to disable this ring?
So Loxy, like, flips down a couple of lenses to try and focus in on the ring. And she flips some switches and has, like, her goggles have, like, a connection to some buttons in her vest, so she, like, you see her, like, clicking some of those, flipping a switch and hoping it just, like, shuts down the mod or the ring.
Okay. I'm gonna say you can do that. You sort of, as you shut it down, you reach out. You can see as you shut it completely down first that there are viruses upon viruses upon viruses that seem to be circulating throughout this ring. And it's only because of the Nat 20 effectively that you can see it almost like these small, almost mechanical insects moving throughout this ring. And as you do it, each one sort of cracks and you can see this ring get hotter and hotter. And through your lens, you see this tiny sort of, almost like puff of smoke. No one else will see it, but this ring just cracks in half and falls off. Clatters on the ground. And Hybria's eyes roll back in her head and she drops.
Can Cantor make a move to catch her?
Make a speed check for me. Straight up.
I'm gonna take... Now let's see how it plays. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, and with a major effect. Okay, so Loxy, as you sort of visualize it, you can see it all happening. You're taking all your focus to break this ring. And Cantor, you almost just clock at the last minute as you see Hybria's eyes roll into the back of her head. As you run forward and you grab her, as you hold her, that blue static from your hands, you watch it, how you've seen it almost geometrically spiderweb across walls and across ceilings and through pathways. It goes fully over Hybria. And she is out.
He would take her then and move over to the medical facility that he has and put her down on the fully automated like chair bed thing they have. He has it's your place, Cantor. And so yeah, he would sit her down and maybe absently, if this could be the major effect, he would absently reach over and his hands would fly over the code of the bed, calling for a diagnostic, and for it to be, he would just, without thinking, he would activate whatever would be needed for the bed to ascertain current state. His fingers would fly without watching.
Okay. So Loxy, you can see that ring broken on the floor. Cantor, you start working away to get these analytics out. Zarina, what are you doing?
Narrowing my eyes at this ring on the floor. This is the second ring on the floor in like 10 minutes, and suspicious. Especially right as we were starting to get to the let's figure things out part.
I mean, I will say, Loxy, you can definitely see that static from the kitchen is gone.
So has this happened before? Or is this new?
The people disappearing or the things
Both?
getting hacked?
Both.
No, this is all pretty new to me.
Okay.
How about
just,
you?
Wasn't sure how, because I was out of the loop for a bit. No, new. Very, very new. Never seen anything like this before.
Uh-huh. Yeah, did you notice that she was humming that song again?
Yeah, no, I that definitely noticed that.
I don't understand how someone without mods can keep hacking systems like this.
No, it doesn't make sense. I really don't understand. And I'd contact somebody about this, but I can't trust them anymore, apparently. So, yeah.
There were a lot of viruses in her ring.
A lot of viruses in her ring. Like, how many viruses? Like, more than 2?
More than 2, less than 10.
Okay. Alright. Just gonna do a quick virus scan. Just give me a moment. Just gonna run some malware, do a little virus scan, and Spybot search and destroy on myself a little bit.
Okay. So, as this sort of all happens, Loxy, you can tell that all the static is gone. In this case, there's not even any residue. And the residue from the bathroom is slowly sort of disappearing. You can still pick it up, but you can't physically see it anymore. Zarina, you start to run a scan, and you can scan every single part of you. And Cantor, you notice on the screen that sort of gives you the information. A sort of, in red text, flashes up, unreadable. And you know your machine's working.
He would just make sure that Loxy and Zarina could see it too. He would just kind of...
Yeah. You can sort of even turn the screen round.
Yeah.
And Loxy and Zarina, you can see those words sort of blazed on this glass. But somewhere else, Livewire, you're sort of blinking awake, and this feels like your eyes are heavy. And there's this almost like body tiredness sort of to you, almost like when you've been like out drinking or something, you're hungover, where your legs ache but you don't feel like you've used them a lot, your arms ache but you're like, I haven't done any extraneous exercise or anything, but you sort of, with your eyes themselves, they feel so heavy, like they've been closed for a while.
It's just sort of the instinct that I do. It's like the thing that I do the first thing in the morning, like especially if I'm a little discombobulated. You know how sometimes maybe you've been out drinking a lot and maybe getting punched a lot in an underground fighting club while streaming it. I mean, I'm sure that has happened to you. And then you woke up, as it happens, and you wake up a little hungover and a little, and your eyes are closed and you kind of don't really know where you are. And like the first thing you do is you just sort of try to reach out to see whether or not Zarina is there. And like that's the first thing you do in the morning before. And that's like, it's just like that, like, oh, and just sort of reaching out.
As you reach out, you don't even get full extension. As you get to about here, you feel glass.
That is when I'm going to open my eyes, because that's not right. This is not my apartment.
As you open your eyes, it is bright white. Like, it's almost like when you've stepped outside into the sun and you've been in a dark room for days. It's just almost blinding, and there's a moment where you see those colored spots as you sort of readjust and blink to this fully white room.
And when that happens, you open your eyes and it's too bright and you just sort of squint and you sort of you do that thing where you close your eyes again and then you just open them the tiniest sliver, hoping that will make it better. In that,
like, as you squint, you do that, you can see the light is coming from somewhere, but because you're squinting, you can see almost like color sort of cross past your eyes and sort of down beside you, and you realize it's being filtered by glass.
I'm going to, if like, assuming there's some sort of super bright light, also low-key panic, like, wait, and like there's a lot of thoughts going on right in my mind, and there are disjointed and strange, and there are things like, wait, was all of this a dream? Wait, where am I? What of the last things that I remember were actually real? Because the last day and a half, the last 2 days, day and a half were pretty weird, right? Like there's been a lot going on, and then all of a sudden, well, what is real, what isn't real? Like I'm trying to like figure out, because also all I deal with is our like sort of illusions, and so there's a little bit of a unmooring of what is real and what is not real, and a kind of like a panic moment of not necessarily knowing what. And I just moved from my hand on the glass to like touching myself to make sure that I am real. And and of course that doesn't make much sense, but that's sort of the kind of Liveware just had a very emotional moment, and now he doesn't know where he is, right? So he just touches himself to make sure that he is real, and then he's going to look down at himself rather than out and try to sort of be grounded in his body, that most people never see. You know what I mean? And so there's something there, like there's like kind of a wanting to reground oneself in oneself before one then moves out to then what am I laying on? It's like rather than looking out, it's like me, okay, am I here? What am I laying on? Looking at the thing, the color of the thing that I'm on, and then the sides of the dome that's covering me. It's like that very like start small and internal, and then slowly moving to very concrete things, like the touch, the feel of the thing that I'm on. Is there like a metal strip of this thing, like just, you know, and then slowly moving outwards.
You, first of all, when you reach out, you can feel it's like glass all the way around. In fact, there's glass just inches from your face. As you sort of move your head from side to side, you can feel that coolness of like a pillow or a cushion that is being, you haven't turned on that side and laid on it yet. It's kind of refreshing in a weird way. You can also tell from the chair across the room, empty chair, that you are upright. Sort of at a slight slant, as if you're half laying back, but everything in this room is white. The chair, the walls, the clothes you're wearing. You're in a very sort of standard, plain, almost boxy white t-shirt and white trousers, very loose, almost like a linen. And you can see your feet at the bottom. If you sort of tuck your chin down and have a look, and your feet are bare, you have no shoes.
So the last time, like, so just a few seconds ago, just noting it for people who don't remember, a few seconds ago, I was wearing a hospital gown, my mask and hat, pork pie hat.
You upgraded.
I upgraded, and now I'm like, oh, I'm not. I'm going to look. First off, is my mask on? Where's my hat? Like, it's that kind of like, that's like all these like kind of instinctual things, like mask, hat, and it's this thing, and it's this kind of, and of course it's silly, but it's always about like, oh, I want to make sure that no one knows who I am. Of course, I'm in a tube right now, so that seems like with people who probably know who I am, but it's like that's like the initial instinct is always like it's like almost being naked, right? Like, oh, let me make sure that people can't see who I am, right? And that's the first instinct.
There's no mask. You reach up and you feel there's no mask, there's no hat, there's nothing. And it might be the first time in quite a while that you've felt skin on your own skin, like on your face. And you can hear something somewhere, like a whir, and you realize it sounds almost like an air fan, like air conditioning, sort of being pumped in and out, because otherwise this seems almost completely sealed.
I'm going to, so this is not good. I'm going to ask, so what happens is that I kind of run diagnostics, and these are mental. The one diagnostic is physical, but the rest of them are mental, right? And the first, the physical diagnostic is checking my signal, my internet signal, because if I'm in a place where I don't have a signal, that will tell me something. If I'm in a place where I am, that also tells me something. If I might have a signal, but I'm being jammed, like trying to getting a sense of what is my connectivity. I'm not actually trying to go on, but I want to sort of see, like, you know, what my signal is like, and try to figure out, like, because he's going to assume that either if his signal internally is still working, it's being jammed, or he's probably somewhere where there is no signal. He's figuring it's one of those two things. If he does have a signal, he's not going to turn it on because he feels like that's a trap. But like that's the first diagnostic that he does, is to check to see what his connectivity is like.
Roll an intellect check of 3 to see how much you can deter from this.
Will my streamed journalism skill help me?
Yeah, I'll say it will. You've done this loads of times.
Okay, and so then I'm gonna roll, I think I can roll this. I don't know if this will work, but I will. I think I can do that. I think that's how that works. So I rolled a 15. That's a difficulty. So that's a difficulty 6.
So as you sort of reach out, it's almost like you're trying to connect.
Yeah.
And you've seen these problems very standard before. You think that right now, where you are, something has blocked you. But you don't know if that pertains to this thing you're in, the room you're in. You can guess that there's probably not going to be great signal if this has been disabled for a radius, but it doesn't mean there isn't connection elsewhere, wherever you are.
So I feel like I'm in a sort of like a blocked space. Yeah. Figuring something like that would happen because it looks like I've been captured. And it also looks like, looking at this space, there are no markings. However, that doesn't mean I can't find out information, right? This is like, right, like, Ramos sort of goes through, he's a journalist, he's an investigator, this is what he does. He's like, okay, all white. He's thinking about the woman in white. He's thinking about the spaces that he's been in throughout his life where you get this kind of sort of aesthetic. He's thinking about corporations that might have this aesthetic. So he's trying to go through, and especially he's thinking now about corporations in Almerius, like sort of like the supremacy, thinking about homes, apartments, businesses, business offices, logos, branding. Current events might also help for this as well. So I try to think about all of the different kinds of spaces that he's been in especially supremacy bits, because he knows like the monitors don't in Almerius don't really have this aesthetic, right? So he's trying to sort of go through all of the kind of corporate and sort of high society supremacy spaces that he's been in, to try to also tech, like who has access to what kinds of tech, to try to figure out if he can place at least likely culprits. And I mean that more in a sub faction, because I imagine not all the supremacies have the same aesthetic, right? Like this place might have more of this aesthetic rather than that place. And so he's going to think about that, and especially racking his brains when he's thinking about Hybria's family, right? So, yeah.
And from that, I will say that from this room and from where you are, this has what you've seen as the telltale signs of supremacy, purely because of how minimal everything is. However, there are no logos. There is no show of, like, normally with the supremacy, you normally find something either in like a rose gold or gold itself. It's quite flashy. It's done for showing off. This is showing traits of supremacy. There are no logos. There's no sort of almost royal feel to it, no wealth to it. And you kind of think there's a reason for it, that there's no logo.
Yeah, that we're like, this is some kind of black site, but since the supremacy, it's going to be all blinding white. I'm going to try to see if I can. I'm going to try, I feel like I'm in some kind of like holding tube. In my experience, this is a question I would ask. This feels medical to me, but it could also be, I'm trying to sort of ascertain the nature of this thing that I'm in, if it is carceral, medical, transportation, right? Like, is this like a teleportation tube? Is this a medical monitoring tube? Is this like a prison tube? Trying to figure out like what this the kind of function of this tube, and have I seen anything like it before? That sort of thing. Like, am I like am I in like an experimental lab, or is this like a, you know, trying to sort of get the sense of what this thing might be like.
Roll me an intellect check of 3, please.
Mhm. Natural 20.
Okay, so on a
Trying to figure
nat
out
20,
what this is and how it works, right?
on a nat 20, you can tell this is medical.
Mm.
You can tell that it has been used for transportation in some, but physically.
Mm-hmm.
This is not used for teleportation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is very much a, I don't want to say standard, but standard for supremacy. So you know that your vital signs will be logged, catalogued, and you will be scanned.
Mm-hmm.
Probably from where, with people you've mixed with, you know the standard is scanned maybe once every couple of hours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You also know that these things are delicate and incredibly expensive.
Mm-hmm. I have two thoughts. One is that I'm imagining I don't have a lot of. I'm going to try this first. This is this actually might be a twofer, depending. Well, I'm going to try one without and then one with, and that is Ramos is a pretty strong guy. I would like to first try to force, and not in a loud, obvious way, and I realize that like physically I don't have a lot of room, but see if I can try to force thinking about like how this thing is constructed. Force like the hinges to see if I can pop the door open, probably with my shoulders, especially since I'm not completely flat. I'm trying to sort of see if I can force it open with my shoulder. And if not, I have a different thought. But that's going to be my knowing that I'm also like in this healing process, so like it will probably hurt, but I'm going to try to force it open in a slightly, without making a lot of noise.
I will say from the last roll, you can definitely see where the hinges are. Yeah. So I'll let you roll with advantage on this. If you roll me a might check, beat might check of 3.
Okay. I have edge in might, so I'm going to spend 2 of my pool to see if I can do this. And like the goal is to, like there's like a difference between somebody who just like punches the glass and somebody's like, oh, I think I might be able to like, sort of jimmy this in this kind of like, just so I can get the catch. So let's see what we can do here. With advantage, right? And I'm going to have 1 effort. There we go. And then I think I'm going to do this right. So I roll. The first one's an 8, which is which should be
it's a difficulty
4. It's a difficulty 4.
Sorry.
And then I will roll one more time since I have an advantage, just to see if it gets better. And I'm going to just not add the things in. Same thing. So a difficulty 4.
Okay. So you knock it. It doesn't open. But you can, as you do, you sort of knock this sort of side and you create a gap, this thin gap where these hinges are. And the smell of like, at first you think it's coming into the chamber, but you realize it's the smell of antiseptic leaving the chamber. And you notice when you hit it, your shoulder doesn't hurt.
Because, I had bone powder for a while. What I mean by that is my bones were made of powder. And
good bone powder, yeah.
I am going to sort of press against the gap with both my of my upper body and also my legs to sort of just slowly try to pry it open. Quiet, like not. And I'm also going to very, very deliberately calm my breathing and heart rate so that I do not register as like alarm.
Okay. I will give you a choice of what you want to roll on this one. Either way, it will be straight up.
Mm-hmm.
And question, since we last played, were you impaired or debilitated? I can't remember. Were you
Neither.
not?
I had healed up. I'm completely healed.
Are you fully healed? Okay, that's fine then.
Yes, I am. Well, now I just lost 2.
Okay. What would you like to roll?
I'm going to go with might, and I'm going to use the edge again because this is important. This is important. I'm going to expend some effort there. So I think it's effort, and I'm going to spend that effort. And I think this is how you do it. Okay. I roll a 14, so that's difficulty of 5 because I used the effort.
Okay. Describe how you open it for me.
It is very... So if you see Ramos, the actual Ramos and not Livewire. Livewire looks however you want Livewire to look. But Ramos looks like he works out quite a lot, or has done at one point in time. He's got it, like he's a person who it was his job for a long time to look pretty on the red carpet, right? So he's got that kind of sculpted kind of physical body, but he's not a brute, right? I mean, and so what he does, it's this, like, you slip your fingers into the side of that gap, and it is this moment where it's like it's not like a violent push. It's you just start with a slow amount of pressure, and he just like pushes his feet up on the edge, and it's this slow amount of pressure that slowly builds more and more and more until he keeps pushing harder and using more and more of his strength until he just starts straining. But it's so small, and he never does an explosive push. That never happens. It's always this slow, and I imagine you could hear the metal on the hinges.
You can hear it like pop in some places as it sort of just about leaves. It's not even like a click, it's more of a pop.
And it's this very quiet, like just pushing it out enough. And then it is a very sort of smooth begin to move while looking for electrodes, right? Is that like, he doesn't just step out, he's like moving a little bit to start. It's like, I know I have about this much movement, let me move that much to see how and which way I might be attached and how I might be able to spoof this if I am. It's like a very deliberate, thoughtful use of physical force, sort of precise.
As you sort of move forward, you feel almost like, it doesn't hurt, but you feel like a tack or something pressed up against your back that sort of comes away, and you can see where you were effectively plugged into everything and everything was being read. It doesn't hurt. You wouldn't have even said it was there if you weren't trying to do it so quickly. You think if you burst through, you wouldn't have even noticed. On the other side, if you look out on the glass, you can see all your vitals. And as you sort of kind of hear the pop out, they just go doof.
Can I use my data jack? Because I'm really looking for, like, if I'm feeling a pressure, I would wait before I move out. I want to see if I can move back and use my data jack and my minor illusion together to spoof those vitals to remain as I disconnect.
Roll an intellect check of 3 for me, please.
And I have to use one of my pool for the minor illusion. I don't think I have. I don't think you have to use one for data jack, do I? Peeps who have one?
Hang on. I don't believe so.
I don't think so. No, I don't. Yes, it does. It's a cost. There's a cost for that too. So I'm going to use both of those together, both the data jack and the minor illusion, to try to keep the spoof going on so that they will think that I'm still there, because I don't need them to not think that I'm there. And I will use effort.
Okay. Because
you know how it is. That's a thing. Like, that's a thing, and we don't want to. We don't. Yeah. Roll.
Yeah.
It's a natural 20, so that's a 7.
Okay. So you almost create this. It's almost like an illusion. You almost, if you could look at yourself at this point, you would almost see like you were stepping out of a almost completely clear see-through image of yourself that remains in this tube. It sort of glimmers that sort of slight blue for a second, but you manage to step out of this tube. You can even close the door if you want.
Yes.
And it's almost like you're looking at a shadow of yourself, or not even a shadow, like an outline of yourself still in this tube, and you can feel your feet press against that cold floor as you step into the room. And as you step into the room, you notice there are about 18 other tubes in here.
Oh.
There's no other people, though.
Okay. Because that was the first look. Who might be in these tubes?
Mm-hmm.
Before, is there a door?
There is a door.
Before I go
It looks
to
to be just the standard. You can see the door locks and stuff like that. It doesn't look like you need a card to get out of here or any form of lock, because they probably don't expect people to get up and walk around in here.
The first thing I do before I go to the door is I get down on my knees and I bend and I look at the underside of the tube that I was in. Because it is technology and there may not be visible logos, but I imagine people with tech, they mark their things in ways. And I'm going to look at the underside, the very bottom, the foot of that tube, to look for like a barcode, see if there's anything there at all.
You can't see a logo, but you can see a serial number.
I take a flash of that. I'm not gonna sort of try to risk running that now, but I'm going to sort of do it. And actually, I'm going to do that for each of the tubes. I'm going to try to get whatever kind of data I can have that I can then pass along to Loxy or Zarina, like my crew that do that sort of a thing. I'm going to look for security cameras, and then I'm going to approach the door.
Okay. You can't visibly see any security cameras. You also know, however, that the Supremacy does monitor everything, not necessarily via cameras. You think your heart rate and everything was probably the main alarm.
That's what I figured.
Head towards the door. It's standard. You've seen these loads of times before, and as you approach, you press the button and it opens. 2 sliding doors like that as it opens. And ahead of you, you see a long white corridor. Much further along, there are windows, but you can't see out of them quite yet. But from where you are, you can see there's some windows. You can also see running along your left-hand side a door after door after door after door. Each one is numbered, and it seems to be 1 to 16.
I'm going to, again, with no broadcast, because I imagine any kind of outward broadcast would be a problem, but I'm going to start recording what I'm experiencing so that I can give that to my friends. And I'm going to sweep back, record the room I was in, step out, record the hallway. So I'm going to be recording this for posterity. I'd like to see what room number I was in.
You're in number 1.
I'm going to, Ramos is a dancer, right? So Ramos is going to kind of glide down in the sense that he and Zerina have danced quite a lot. Going to glide down this hallway, listening to the doors, not opening them yet, but just listening to see if there's activity or sound. And he's going to test number 2 if he doesn't hear anything. He doesn't think he needs to test all of them, but he wants to check the other ones to see if this is a completely empty facility or not.
Okay. You can listen to the doors. Most of them are silent. Every now and then you think you can hear a voice. In one of the rooms further along, I think probably door number 6, you hear animals.
Oh.
A variety. You can tell. You can't tell specifically what they all are whilst they're in there, but you can hear multiple animals.
Question. Lore question. Out of character lore question. what is the state of animals in our world? I figure that we probably don't have a lot of actual animals on Nalmirius, because that's a real city kind of space, except for maybe in rich
On
people's parks.
Nalmirius,
Yeah.
you don't tend to get a lot at all. If anything,
Yeah.
you get the mechanical version because they wanted to keep the feeling that there's
Mhm.
wildlife. You
Mhm.
didn't. You tend to get holograms and mechanical things, but the sound is always slightly off.
Yeah, and I'm from a farming planet. So, and these sound like real animals and not fake animals.
These sound real.
Yeah, I want to go in there, but animals sometimes can be spooked by things, and that might be a problem. So I'm going to go to the window, and I'm not going to go to where I would be visible. Like, that's not what I do not want to be visible in case those windows lead to, rather than the outside, but like people who are looking at you. But I want to get as close to the window as I can and try to see if I can, like edge to see if I can get a sense of, are these monitoring windows or is there an outside? And if there's an outside, where we might be.
Okay. You look, sort of like peer through the window, and first of all, it's almost like side eye. You can just see green, as in flora and leaves, and these you can guess from the top of this you are high up, because you can see, and you're almost mixed in with the tops of trees. You can see some of the branches. You actually realize some of the sounds you were hearing with the trees sort of cracking the branches against the windows themselves.
Quick question, because these are in our solar system, in our space, there are not a lot of lush planets or planets with a lot of they're not all green places. And the two green places are my home planet, Mara 34, and also the place where I spend a lot of time working, Osiria. Like Osiris.
Are you doing this in character?
No, out of character. Osiria. How do you pronounce it?
Osira, you're good.
Thank you. Osira. I'm guessing Osira. Which planet? But it could be Marathor, because there's a lot of weird teleportation to that particular planet.
Make a intellect check to see if you recognize some of the birds outside the window.
Yeah.
As they fly past.
Okay, I'll do that. It'll be fine. Hey, intellect check. How you doing? I hope you're doing well. 14 beats difficulty 4.
Okay. You sort of look out this window and you feel like you have to press yourself up against the wall to make sure, because you can see the door at the other end of the corridor now, from where you are, has a window. But as you look out of these huge long windows, it's almost oval shape, looking out over this massive forest. These colorful birds sort of cascading almost across the window. You recognize Mara. You're at home.
Oh. And there's this sort of concerned look on my face, because he was expecting to be on Osira, because that's where the supremacy is and like all this kidnapping and all that. But being in Mara, he thinks immediately about the ways in which the woman in white had been transported out of Nalmirius and then sort of showed up on Mara. So like there's this sort of now this Mara connection that is somewhat disconcerting at this point in time. But he knows people. He knows this planet. If he can get out of this facility, he might have a chance. The question is, does he know of any facilities like this? Like, has he heard of any place like this on his home planet? Like, can he think like, oh yeah, there was like like some kind of lab or something in these kinds of places that he might be able to sort of place himself?
Mara, no, because Mara is primarily a port planet.
Yeah. And
it's
like
farming,
yeah.
It's transport, it's trade. It's almost like a stop-off point. Yes, there's locals, but there shouldn't. In fact, you probably know it's almost like it's probably against the law to build this sort of thing on Mara.
Well, that's distressing. I'm gonna go low to sneak up to that door with the window.
Could you roll me an intellect check before you do, please?
I will. Because does either current events or stream journalism count?
Nope.
Okay, just asking. That's
Okay.
an 8.
You, as you sort of crouch low, start making your way towards the door. You hear a door at the end of the corridor open.
Ooh.
You can see it start to push open. You see a hand against that glass and start to push it open, and you hear the footsteps as these two people start to enter the corridor. They haven't seen you yet. They seem to be looking at notes.
Okay, how close am I to a door?
You're in a corridor, so you can literally dive. I mean, you were opposite room 6, so you could dive straight into that.
Which door are they coming out of?
The main door at the end of the corridor.
Sneak into 6. I'm just gonna
Okay. You can glide into 6 as you sort of open it and close it. As you do, are you fully closing the door behind you? Are you leaving it open? What are you doing?
I'm going to fully close it because if it's cracked, they may notice. And it's me when things like slide in, close the door, quick scan of the room, assuming there will probably be pods, and if there are, get behind one in case they come in this door. It's that kind of way.
This room is the room with the animals in it. So you step in. There doesn't seem to be much of a commotion as you go in. These animals all look pretty local to Mara. And they seem well looked after. They're being monitored almost like you were. As you're being monitored around, and you recognize one of the larger creatures that is sort of trying to say how big it is. It's probably the same size as your torso.
Okay.
It's got the long sort of arms that we would most relate to as like a sloth, those longer arms, those claws. It's got almost a very owl-like face, more from the eyes and how these almost fans out like feathers, and these two sort of large hind legs. It sits on a perch, and these very thick, dense, heavy claws that are currently sort of scratching at one of the posts that it's been put on, and a very sort of heavy, very thick, heavy tail, which that they're very calm, docile creatures. If threatened, you don't want to get hit by that tail. And it sort of turns its eyes and looks to you in a very sloth-like way, sort of peers towards you through this glass and puts up one of its claws towards the glass.
It's if it's encased, what I'm going to do is hide behind its pod and try to get myself, since I feel like I know how these things work, that if necessary, I could let it out. Just in case, for example, sketchy people who are making an arc of human beings and animals, who knows what they're doing, if they come into this room, I might just let our friend out from behind its pod.
You can see that you could easily open it. There seems to be another thing. It's probably why they couldn't get out, but it's sort of using these large sort of 3 claws to like tap on the glass at you as you walk past. And if you sort of start to move around the back, it follows you around this glass case and is just very fixated on you. You've seen these before. They're usually fully in the wild. It's not a pet. They have been said to make great pets, but they're quite rare, so you don't tend to get them anywhere.
How sapient are they? Do we know?
I don't think you'd know. They're very rare, so you do know that some people call them Solivax. They've got this almost bluish like fur. It's almost like a gray-blue tinge to it, and its head tends to sort of stretch up and move very much like an owl's, as it's very observant and watches you. And some of the animals, they're not alerted or alarmed. They're not getting louder by you coming in here. You think people must come in here a lot for this to work, but they're sort of chattering away. You can see some others. You can see one with these sort of big suckers that is currently climbing in one of the big glass tubes that goes up and across the ceiling. But as you're sort of shimmying behind this glass box, you recognize the voice in the corridor as it walks past. And They're just talking. They seem to be having a conversation with each other. And it's, you recognize the voice from the hospital.
It's not our creepy doctor, is it?
You recognize the doctor's voice. It sounds very calm, much calmer than he was that day. Sounds almost like in his element. And he's chatting, he's talking about stats, he's talking about analytics, he's talking about testing, and he's talking about simulations.
I'm gonna try to listen try to get as much from that conversation as I can, and I am recording it so that whatever I catch, I can sort of play back for the others. And also, the thing is, I imagine that maybe one of them might be able to sort of, maybe some of them can understand the stats a little bit better if I hand it off to them. We're gonna record all that. We're gonna record all of that.
Did you let the Solovac out?
Not yet. That's my in case I need it.
Okay. So, could you roll me? Hang on. Did you hide?
I'm basically hiding. Yes, like behind the.
Okay.
Behind the
yeah, I'll say you can hide definitely as you sort of crouch down. You
but close
realize
that I can pop that thing. Like if they walk in, I'm letting the solo back out. That's how that's going.
Okay, and as you do see the door open from where you are. Are you pretty sure if you moved, like if you decided to move somewhere else in the room, they'd see you because it's all glass, cabinet type style things. And you see them walk in with these sort of glass sheets, so you can see the information running through it. You can see what looks like a younger, not doctor, you're not even sure, you could easily say lab assistant at this point, go around and start putting food into these little dispensers that then you see a small glow of a green light that disappears, the food drops down into the tank, and a lot of the animals sort of go rushing.
And while they're busy with that, I'm just gonna like sneak my little hand, pop that button so that the Solovac pod can open. I'm gonna stay in my hidden spot, right? Because I'm like behind it. I just want them to meet some friends, or like meet a friend.
Could you roll me a speed check, please, to do it without being seen?
And I am going to spend my spend some effort there, even though I don't have a lot of speed. But that's what I'm going to do because I'm worried. Okay. All right, there we go. That's difficulty 4. Difficulty 4.
Okay. You sort of slide your hand up, you sort of feel around for a minute, and then you just pull that clip, and you can retract your hand as well. And they slowly sort of turn and look as they hear that creak of the glass that just swings open. And this Solovac at the moment has been pressed against the back of the glass looking at you. They don't seem to be too worried by it. They don't think it's actually...
I give it an empathetic nod. I don't know if it will understand what that means, but I give it an empathetic nod.
You watch it from where you are. It's sort of these long arms sort of reach towards the edge of the tank and effectively pull itself to the edge and look down. Slowly start to, like, these hands start to climb out. And there's a moment where it turns its head almost 180 degrees to look back at you as its eyes flash this bright green. And you can hear a small little chirp from it as it starts to almost, they haven't seen it yet, it starts to creep its way across the floor towards them. Back in the apartment, you can see these red lights like flashing on the glass screen. It says unreadable by Hybria.
I'd like to look for machine malfunctions.
Okay.
Or what's going on with the machine.
Roll me a straight up intellect and I'll just see how much you can get from it, please.
I might spend some effort. So since I have edge, that means I only need to spend 2 effort, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Just want to double check.
Okay. So
10?
from this, it's almost like a blip. You're looking at it, the machine works fine. You don't understand why this blip is coming up. You can also read through your goggles that Hybria's life signs are all completely normal. The only difference you do see is the temperature has raised and her heart is going fast, like she's breathing. You can actually physically see her breathing faster, but she doesn't seem to be in any distress. It's bizarre. It's like she's just asleep. But temperature has gone up, heart rate is elevated, and you can hear it. And it's not coming through the screen. All of you can hear it with your ears.
The machine doesn't seem to have anything weird going on with it.
Okay, let me try a scan, and I will activate. So I should be done scanning myself by now.
Yeah,
Do
you
a
find
scan
nothing. You find absolutely nothing.
Yeah, so then I'll scan Hybria as well. Ew. Just to see if anything weird pops up.
Okay. Sort of look over, and the weirdest thing you have,
Or with the
I guess
machinery
you,
too, because it's just
yeah,
a big.
it's blocked. It's everything is blocked. Everything has suddenly come up, and I will say you will probably guess that supremacy tend to lock certain information out,
Mm-hmm.
especially on families, because people know family secrets. People know a lot of things they probably shouldn't, and it's more that you're looking at Hybria and this, both the machine can't register her at all, and she's not registering the machine.
There's some interference. It's like a firewall that a lot of very fancy rich supremacy families can afford to have put in place so family secrets don't get leaked.
So that's what's
the
preventing.
The machine can't register her, and she's not registering up on the machine.
Okay, I mean she seems to be doing fine other than
Maybe a
the heart and temperature.
fever? Yeah. Maybe we should put some like a cold washcloth or something.
Yeah, we could grab some ice too.
Boop. Okay. So weird node mod guy doing weird things.
Mm-hmm.
Supremacy is working with him, maybe. There's that doctor guy who wants to kill Rainbow's or Livewire, and
We just know that there's a lot of connections back to Hybria's family.
yeah. Okay.
Um,
More connections are appearing now. Things are making a bit more sense.
and Cantor possibly with the guy in the box having Cantor's
Maybe.
belongings.
Cantor would pull out the picture that has the children in it, and he would turn it around, and he would point to one of the boys. Bria's honorable brother.
Yeah, he's missing, isn't he? I heard something about that.
Yeah, she's looking for him. So you knew him,
Archer.
Archer. Huh.
Okay. Do you think the Supremacy is looking for Archer as well?
I mean, seems a lot of people are looking for Archer.
If we find him, maybe we'll find some answers?
We can hope. But if
People want to find you guys, apparently me as well. For some reason, are connections to these people?
possibly.
Huh.
Well, I guess we could add this to the list of events.
Yeah? Yeah, and apparently, something important was stolen from my apartment. That I didn't realize was there.
So where did we leave off with the whole rehashing of everything that's happened?
Yeah, I think we're kind of just working on that in general. Um, I'm sure you heard. Sorry. But Livewire and I used to date back a few years ago for several years.
Mm-hmm.
Had a nice apartment. It was nice. And then apparently he faked his own death. He wasn't killed in a tragic accident. He faked his death because the supremacy was after him. Because of footage he had.
I knew you two knew each other, but I didn't know that. Did I know that he faked his own death? I don't remember. No. Well, he left that part out. He left that bit out
Yeah,
of the story of.
He faked his death and did not tell me he did that.
Explains a lot.
Cantor's just nodding like you've just described like a job change at some point in the last 5 years, and he's just nodding and looking over at Loxy and then nodding and looking back at Serena. Just if as long as everybody's calm, he seems to be remaining calm as well.
So, and then he teleported, was yoinked from here by
something.
Someone.
Something.
I really hope it's something instead of someone. That's.
Yeah, that would be weirdly better.
Yeah.
Maybe.
At this point, I think so.
Oh gosh. Okay.
She kind of goes, I should put this back. Kind of more muttering to herself, and you see she picks out a very fancy ring, puts it in a ring box, and then opens a little chest compartment, sticks it in, closes it back up.
Sorry. Go here. Go right there. Okay. Well,
I was with Sleaze for a bit. I only overheard a conversation about the people wanting to find you, the supremacy, I assume, wanting to find you, and apparently me as well now. It's very strange. And maybe, do you think that AI knows something? The one that Livewire brought in?
it might. Livewire was saying that there have been attacks on AI of late, and frankly,
I've never turned mine on.
Wonder if that's a similar thing to what happened to the guy in the police station and Hybria's ring.
Maybe George? Was
Yeah.
it? Maybe George will know something?
I probably brought George in for anything that was important. I would have brought in, so I probably would have lugged up the boxes, all the boxes I grabbed from the.
You can see George is almost like it's like a suitcase, like a heavy duty suitcase, which is like George printed on the front of it, a dot between each of the letters. You can see there's currently a coffee mug resting on the top of it from where Hybria was going through things.
All right, so let's turn on George.
Yeah, let's take a look, and I'll use my goggles to see if there's anything potentially dangerous while we're booting up George.
Okay. So you're
I'll
going
assist
to
Loxy.
open the suitcase and look towards George and build him, or because he's in bits.
He's in bits? Oh, he's in bits
Yeah.
in the suitcase?
Yeah, he's not a small robot.
Then I guess I will, yeah, I'll try rebuilding him.
Yeah, I'll assist
Okay.
when I can.
I will say
Um,
both of you, with your knowledge and stuff, you can definitely you open the suitcase
What else are
and
we
this
gonna
looks like
do?
an old it looks like an old robot. He doesn't look like a brand new one or anything like this. You know this is a G394 model. They're very tall. They tend to be around 6 foot, if not over 6 foot tall. They're usually used for help moving things. Like, you'll find them on a lot of transport ships. You'll find them on a lot of trading vessels and stuff like that. They're very good at carrying very heavy things. Their body is normally the biggest part of them, and they tend to have a very sort of smallish, round, sort of square-bottomed head, and two very large eyes. One you know is for scanning, one you know is for calculating. They're very basic, but you probably haven't seen one in a while, unless you've been aboard a training vessel, and even then they would have been a more modernized one. He looks a bit rusty, and there's definitely some paint sort of flicks on him. You can guess whoever was using him was maybe repainting parts of the ship and he got in the way. And you can just see like a yellow stripe that's gone across the top half of his body and one of his shoulders, where he's obviously just walked through, probably in between a wall and a maintenance robot. And you can slowly put this robot together, this AI, and it's very clunky. He's not particularly streamlined or anything like that, but you manage to slowly put him in place in one of the chairs in here, whether it's an armchair or on the sofa or something like that. And you know that if he stands up, he's gonna be over 6 foot tall. And he's got his serial number like slapped on the back of him.
Loxy probably has to stand on like a chair or a stool to finish assembling the top part.
I think that's what I think I can see it because he's like sat down, that you still have to stand on a stool to like do bits and bobs on him. Whilst you're doing that, Cantor, what are you doing?
Other than potentially handing George's head up to Loxy and making alas, George, I have no idea if I know you. And then handing that up and then putting all the crockery back.
Okay. You start to put all the crockery back, and as you're doing this, you almost have that trace again where you blink a few times and it's not really a memory because it just happened. That flash of blue that went over Hybria, like that spider web of this network that you have. And between each sort of mug and bit of cutlery or crockery you start putting back in the cupboard, it's almost like you glitch out and you're seeing the scene as if it's right in front of you as you do this. And it's split seconds, and like at one moment you're holding a mug, and then at the second you see that flash of blue again, and you're holding the hand of that woman on the very first day when you were on your way to the shop. And then it's gone again. But it flickers and flashes. Could you roll me an intellect check, please?
Sure. Just straight up, right?
Straight up. Okay.
6.
You almost don't notice, you sort of drop the mug and almost absent-mindedly catch it with the other hand, almost as if it appears in your other hand. Put it down. You can hear Loxy, you can hear Zarina working away, You can hear George almost booting up, like you can hear a voice trying to come through. And there's a moment as your eyes are starting to flicker these blue flashes, you're seeing two different scenes here. You're seeing your kitchen, and then it flashes to a completely different room, that circular room with the huge windows, and then it flashes back to your kitchen.
Loxy, he would just say as he's going in and out of it.
Loxy, you don't hear him. You don't hear him. If you look over, you'll see his lips moving.
Help.
I don't know if I would look over.
You have that flicker again and that flash. And it's almost like you're having a split second of that room with the windows and that split second that room, your apartment. But there seems to be one thing you notice. And it's a feeling. And it's something consistent through both of these scenes. You see this flash of blue, and from one of the bedrooms, you see, almost running in slow motion, a little girl sprinting across the living room, sort of looking back towards the bedroom. You can see her lips moving, and she's sort of gesturing and waving her hand. And you see a little boy come running after her, chasing. They're laughing, but no sound is coming out. And they both turn back and they call towards the other room. And poking his head round the door as it flickers, the very young archer sort of look out and come dashing across the room to meet them. They seem to, again, there's no sound, there's laughing, there's giggling. And as you blink again, there's that static. And the two boys are left in the middle of the room laughing, sort of pushing each other about a bit. But you feel your hand grabbed. As a little girl takes your hand as you stand in that kitchen. And she smiles, looking up at you.
Loxy.
Do I still not hear him?
You don't hear him. If at any point anyone looks up, you will see his lips move. You won't see him.
I'll sort of, hey Cantor, can you hand me the screwdriver down there?
And Cantor, you can't hear Loxy. But Loxy, you will notice he hasn't replied or handed you the screwdriver.
I'll look then.
You see him clasping a mug in one of his hands, but lower down, as if he's holding the hand of someone. Quite low down. And his lips are moving. And his eyes have changed. And he's looking directly at sort of an empty, what you would call an empty space in the apartment. There's you and Zarina aren't there, George isn't there, there's just, seems very focused. Where for you it's almost like behind the sofa.
I'll like look over at the sofa and I'll look back at Cantor and I'll Serena. Something's going on with Cantor.
Oh, it's just gonna happen to us one by one in this apartment?
I hope not. And then Loxy
I'll
will
turn
start...
and I'll look.
Loxy's gonna start. Loxy's gonna look over with her goggles and, her goggles and see if she can see like the static cloud or anything like that.
Okay, could you roll me an intellect check, please?
I'd like to use my advantage that I have.
Yes.
And I'm gonna actually, can I use some effort this time?
Of course.
That's not much better. Thank
You don't-
you, dice.
You don't see a static. You can see what you've seen before, which you saw in the garage. You saw how Cantor's like threads of blue, that spider web that he almost creates, and you notice it's radiating off of him. It's going through his feet. It's going through every inch of the apartment. You look down at your feet and you can see it there as well.
Is this something I've seen him do before?
You've seen him do it maybe a few times, particularly at the garage. You know, it was like almost like a tracer type thing. So it's almost like a seeking information. It's like when heightened looking for something. You might have seen it before.
I don't know if he's looking for something or...
I'll go to where he's looking, see if I see anything there. So I guess the other side of the couch.
As you move towards the back of the couch,
Mm-hmm.
you stand there, and you personally can feel something. You're not too sure what it is. You don't know. It's not mechanical, but it's reading almost like a mechanical anomaly would on your systems. And Cantor, from the point of view, you can see Zarina standing behind the sofa, and you can see one of the young boys, not Archer, just playing, sort of running through her.
He's going to try to call to the kids, all of them.
Okay.
Come here. Come here.
Roll me an intellect check straight up, please.
I'm taking a crit here.
Okay. What are you calling out to them? And is it one specifically? Is it all of them? How are you addressing them?
He would drop down to his knee and just lift his arms out wide. He's holding the little girl's hand, so he would kind of, not hurt her as he would come down. He would readjust, and almost like he's, is prepping for a hug, like a group hug or something like that. And he would just say, "Who's happy to see me?"
And you notice that, first of all, the boy across the room stood sort of in between Zarina. And Zarina, you feel it at that moment as if something passes through you. And Cantor, you see this little boy run and sprint, go straight through the cabinets, and throws his arms around you.
Moxie, there's something here.
Yeah, you can feel it now. It's almost like you pick it up, and the little girl squeezes your hand a bit tighter, Cantor. Again, arms sort of wrapped tightly around your upper arm as you crouch down, and she rests her head on your shoulder. But the other one, Archer, it's like he hasn't heard you. He looks confused as he walks around the sofa, and he goes and stands in front of Hybria, who is out. And he turns and he looks at you, and now you can hear them. You hear them laughing, you hear them chatting. And Archer looks towards you.
Who's this?
He would look down at the two kids that are in his arms. Tell him. Who am I?
And they look up at you. And they look confused. And the little girl holds your hand again very tightly.
I like holding your hand.
Like it when you hold my hand.
I do. It's our thing.
And Archer again over by the sofa looking at Hybria, sort of looking closer now. He's almost right up against her face, though Hybria shows no indication. Loxy is stood right next to this young boy who looks down at Hybria and goes,
Who is she?
He looks at the little girl. Are you the woman in white?
she looks up. And she looks confused. You see her brow tense. And then there's a glitch again.
No.
And you're stood outside. You're stood down by that noodle store at the very beginning. And the woman in white, you notice her take your hand. And she looks at you and she looks scared, awkward. And she smiles down at it, and in her head you can hear, "My favorite thing."
And then he would say, "It's our thing."
And she looks at you. "I'm looking for someone." And at this point, Loxy, you can hear Cantor. Serena, you can hear Cantor. Both of you, you can hear him asking these questions. Are you the woman in white? And it's our thing is the last thing you hear him say. As you both... And Loxy, you can't quite feel what Zarina can, but Zarina, this child passed through you.
Cantor? Miss White?
And Cantor, as you hear Zarina say that, you're stood in that street and you can hear her voice like echoing. And then that woman from behind the noodle bar reaches forward with that tin foil casing. You can smell it, you can feel it, it's hot as you reach out and take it. But Serena's voice comes from her lips and asks your name.
Is the woman in white anywhere around?
She's holding onto your hand.
When his name is asked, he looks to the woman in white. Are you looking for me? Me too.
And at that she looks sad. And she looks down at the hand and she clasps it just a little bit tighter. I've always known when you are. And then you hear Zarina's voice call through again, and that static goes, and you are stood in the kitchen clasping a mug. Loxy, Zarina staring at you. And Hybria's breathing starts to calm.
No. And he would get up and run towards his notebooks.
You can run straight towards your notebooks, and they're all there, laid out in the pile you left them in.
He would open to the last page in the red notebook, and he would start to write down girl, woman in white, looking for someone, until he get to halfway through the vision that he had, and then his hand would start to shake. No. And he would take it and turn it around to the others. And then take the picture out and point to woman in white and the little girl. It's our thing. I'd be lost without it.
woman in white is this girl?
Is she? And he looks at the picture himself.
That's what you have written down, Cantor.
Which notebook? And he looks at the cover. Don't look at this, don't. And he grabs it and turns it around. No, it's not safe.
Okay.
Okay. Are you okay, Cantor?
Yeah, I'm gonna put the dishes away.
Okay.
Loxy's just gonna walk over and hand him a mug. Pat him on the shoulder.
Thanks.
You know we're here if you need anything.
Yeah. He just go over and start putting stuff away again.
Lean down towards Loxy. And quietly, so Cantor can't hear. There was definitely something here. I felt something. It was almost like it moved through me. Some kind of signal or a scan or some. I'm not. I don't know what it was, but there was something here.
He was searching for something. And it seems like he found something.
Right. Okay. This is fine. Everything's fine. We've got someone missing, someone unconscious, and Cantor. And
Yep.
okay, this. All right. Should we turn on George?
Yeah, let's finish
Okay.
this up.
Yep. Okay.
And every so often, Loxy's gonna just look over at Cantor to make sure that he's still okay.
And you sort of head over to George, and he sort of sat very upright. You can find the switch, you flick him on. His head sort of sits upright, and the one sort of blue eye and one green eye sort of lights up, and they're very, very bright. You almost have to look down and tone them down and adjust them as it comes on. And you can hear a whir as he sort of tilts his head from side to side. Looks towards you, Loxy, and looks towards you, Zarina, as you both stand in front of him. Greetings!
Hi, George.
Greetings, George.
I am George.
How are you feeling?
I'm not sure if I have been clear, but I am a robot. I do not have many feelings. How are you feeling? Am I being impolite?
No, you're doing fine. Just put you back together.
How kind of you.
Do you remember Connie?
Sort of twitches from side to side. Yeah. Connie. As he sort of like runs it over again and again. She was kind. Put me in a box, though.
Why did Connie put you in a box, George?
I kept breaking things. Dropping them. Arms answers, and he sort of holds up these sort of almost... They look wiry compared to the rest of him. They're not. They're very industrial. And he just sort of holds up his... They are not as good as they were. And you can see some rust that you could easily fix, but you could see the rust sort of deteriorating.
I see.
I, however, can still make tea. Would you like tea?
I think okay for now.
I'm good for now. Yeah. What's the last thing you remember before we turned you on just now, George?
The box.
The
Dark.
box.
Alarm.
Alarm.
Correct.
Please elaborate, George.
Ship alarm. It sounded like, and you just get this blaring out of his mouth as his jaw drops and this siren almost erupts out. It's too loud.
Yes.
You you will actually see like some of the mugs Cantor start to shake and then almost shut again as his jaw closes.
What ship were you on, George?
And you see him pause. You see one of the lights in his eyes sort of crackle and hold there for a moment. A transport ship.
Going from where to where?
We just left Mara.
Where was the destination?
And he pauses again. You can see him twitching as he does it.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, I am George. Can I make you a cup of tea?
No, thank you, George.
I'm alright, thank you, George. And Loxy's gonna lean into Zarina and say, Connie said that there was some attacks on some AI.
Yeah. I just... Curious as if to whether George would be aware of that or not. It doesn't seem so.
No, and I wonder if the glitch might have something to do with that attack.
I think so. I would assume so. AI are relatively stable these days.
Mm-hmm.
You do hear a creak as he stands up, very upright. And whilst you're talking, if you sort of side glance towards him, you just see him picking up random things. If there is like a little crate or flower pot or something, he's literally picking it up, turns it up the wrong way, continues to shuffle around the apartment. He clanks quite a bit. He stands about 6'5", as you see him walk into one of the main windows at first, before sort of then reaching out and going, and starts moving his way along the windows.
Hey George, do you want to come sit back down for a moment?
I am making tea. And he starts to shift over towards the kitchen. And Cantor, you can feel his presence moving just behind you. Doesn't pay any attention to you at first. He sort of moves along.
He would start handing him cups and then, like cups and saucers.
He starts like putting them in the higher shelves. As if you pass them to him, he'll start putting them in different places. And some of them, again, they're all upside down. All the plates are back to front.
I can see why Connie put George in a box.
Yeah, maybe it's messing, whatever hacked him is messing with his functionality.
Maybe.
Loxy's gonna try to just scan George from afar to see if anything is going funky that she can detect.
Could you roll me an intellect check of 2, please? Because, you know,
I'd sure love to try. Hey, it's a success.
Yeah, okay. As you do, you scan him, and it doesn't look like there's anything wrong with him. There's no infection. There's nothing like you saw in the ring. He sort of smiles, and I will say this is a very robotic sort of feel for AI. And he sort of twitches a few times as he takes that mug off of Cantor. You can see him freeze slightly and go, it starts making a sound, and then almost like he blinks, he goes, "It is nice to see you again, Cantor," and puts the mug up in the top shelf and closes the cupboard. And I think that's where we'll leave it this week until we have Lily back. And if you want to do something at the end, Cantor?
The only thing Cantor would do is he would look at George and say, "Good to see you again, too."
And he would continue taking the mugs off of you.
I think Serena and Loxy just have that, like Like where they just look back and forth and back again.
Yeah. I have to write this down so I know what questions. I have questions for George now. There's so many questions.
So many questions. But that was fantastic. I guess if Alice is forcing us to stop here for today, we have to wait a whole another 7 days. So let's go around. Let's say who we are, where we can find you online, and what your favorite part of today's game was, because I like doing that. I like knowing what everyone's little favorite moments were. Let's start with our game master, Alice. How was that for you?
Hi. I love this game. I'm so glad to be back with all of you as well, and we'll be complete when we have Lily next week. I'm just very excited to be back. I don't know, there's lots of little things I always like. I think one is the mundane things, the discussions, the trying to work out what's going on. My heart breaks every single time Cantor writes in one of those books. I love the joint image of Loxie and Zarina fixing George, and also Livewire interacting with the Solovac sort of through a glass pane at one of those. So yeah, you can find me here every Friday. Also, I'm a photographer. I have a Patreon. I'll do something with that next week. I'm currently going through a massive rebrand. So, but yeah, otherwise you can find me here.
All right, fantastic, wonderful. Someone who is also both of those things, Trooper. How are you?
So the thing is that people in chat were like, oh, when I was on screen, they're like, oh, Trooper's so uncomfortable. Is that just acting, or is Trooper uncomfortable? I was like, oh, I was super on the edge of my seat. But then when I was like not on screen, I was still on the edge of my seat. Oh my gosh. Whoa. Look, here's the thing, y'all, fellow cast and, audience you can listen to. Alice, I don't know if you can listen, but clearly Cantor is connected to like most of us in ways that we don't even know. Like, if George were like, oh, it's nice to see you again, Livewire, that would be cool because I've met George before. But like, Cantor's met George before? Like, was Cantor creeping around in the background behind me? Like, is there a scene when I was like walking down, like, say, see ya, Connie, and I'm walking away, and then like Cantor emerges from a bathroom? I don't know. Like, where is Cantor? Is Cantor everywhere? What's going on? Hey, Alice, can we do another 2 hours? Right now? I'm just asking.
I mean, I would if I could.
This was great. I'm so glad to be back. There were so many moments from this episode that I loved. I really loved. How do I put this? 2 things. One, we're all on our back foot because we don't know what's going on. But I loved how everybody was like on their stuff. Like, we don't know what's going on, but like Cantor's like, no, I have an idea. And then Lox's like, oh no, wait. Like, we all like, and then like, and also Zarina, everyone like sort of defaulted into their expertise as characters. Like, the characters themselves, like, we don't know what's going on, but now we're in this space and we can just start doing things. And there was this really kind of amazing expression of the expertise of all the characters in a way that was different from like the fight scenes. Like, in the fight scenes were like badass fight scenes, but there was this moment where like, these are highly competent and smart and interesting characters. We got to see them just do that in this kind of like great MacGyver way. I loved it. That was so great. And then the second thing that I loved is like, I loved it. It was so creepy when we, like, Alice is like Jaegering Hybria, the player's not here, right? And like, when GMs will Jaeger a PC when the players are missing, but usually keep them in the background and not really say much, and like, that's normal. And like, and there's Hybria in the background not saying much, kind of like going and like doing the things, the dishes, it's cool, not saying much. And then all of a sudden we're like, no, actually, no, this is not what's going on. It's actually something really bad. And it was this like sort of wonderful, like, what do you call it? What was that video game? Bioshock, that like wonderful Bioshock moment when you're like, oh no, this is what's been going on this whole time. And then they sort of this like wonderful meta mess, and it was just this amazing Alice moment. And then when it's tied to the ring, and this ring is like, it's a mundane thing. It's this thing that you have all the time. It's like, it's like it changes your clothing, right? And I think about all the technology that we have that we we just rely on. It's just part of us all the time, like maybe your cell phone or this like Hollow Ring or these various, or like your house AI. And the way that Alice can just turn these things that are so naturalized and normalized in your world and make you realize that actually, no, all these things can be used against you all the time. So creepy, so good. I loved it. I was so happy. I'm so glad to be back. That's it. That's me. Oh, and I'm Trooper SJP. You can find me at Trooper SJP on Twitch or Academic Foxhole on Twitter. That's it.
That's it. Fantastic. It was great to play with you again, and it was also good to play with Erica again. How are you? How is that?
I'm good. I love this game so much. I'm so happy we're back. It is just so, I say this every single time, it's so unlike any other game I've ever played. It's so cinematic. It is so nerve-wracking. Just constantly, I want to tear my hair out in the best ways. But you can find me everywhere at AStylePixie on the Twitter, on the Instagram, on Twitch. You can find me live every day at not every day, every weekday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And you can also find me on Girls Gets Glory. We have new episodes. We're back officially 10 a.m. Pacific time on Wednesdays with a new season and our wonderful Rachel Seeley DMing this season. So very exciting, very cool stuff. My favorite part was, gosh, my heart just breaks any Cantor backstory scene. I'm just like, this is like a life that, you know, Loxy likes to think that she knows Cantor really well in the way that he is now, but like hearing all of his backstory, it's just like, ah! So I would say that's my favorite scene.
Yes.
So.
Speaking of, Cantor, Greg.
I absolutely, just to echo what everybody said, I love this game. Alice is at the very pinnacle of GMs. Sure, someone out there could be as great as Alice, but there are none that are better. And so to play in a world of Alice's design is to, again, a world of pure imagination. And it is so refreshing to be able to run around with passionate role players who, and Trooper said it best, it's the little moments where the interaction between characters isn't self-character driven. It's a ping pong shot back, like, I know your character's good at this, why don't you try this? And then that character gets a moment, and then that character player has their character augment the, it's to watch role-playing masters at play put on a masterclass with a GM of this caliber is, I'm blessed to be wandering around in this space. My name's Greg. You can't find me on social media. Back to you, Lindy.
Woohoo! But you can find him here, playing every Friday and every Wednesday for Witcher. So yeah, it's me. I'm Lindy. This is my channel. We have fun and we play games here. Favorite moments, Trooper's face every time the Zarina talked about Livewire, Ramos, that was very satisfying.
Look, I can take the guilt. Like, I'll just have the guilt. I'll just be guilty. It's fine. Like, there's just
good,
like guilt.
Because I'm gonna keep it. I got a big old like Southern style serving ladle of guilt, and I'm just gonna keep serving it up. I also like how Loxy and Zarina are kind of coming together as buddies a bit. That's a fun aspect. Zarina has somebody else in this world. She doesn't have many people, and one of them just went missing after faking his death. So, it's gonna be so much fun. I cannot wait for next week when we have everybody, and it's gonna be amazing. Definitely big thank you to Roll20, our sponsors. It's our virtual tabletop of choice. They're super awesome. They're super great. Check them out. They've got Cypher system character sheets. That's what we're using. It's free. You can sign up if I hit the command roll20.net. It's awesome. Just like these people that we're playing with, and I cannot wait for next week. So have a good week, everyone. Have fun. Play games. Yeah, you do. Take us away, Greg.